There are some cases where critics have done experiments that appear to be designed to fail. They use data which is extremely questionable, data that was left out because of the fact that it was questionable, and they've done an experiment using only the questionable data. Perhaps they simply haven't thought it through thoroughly, or perhaps they specifically designed it to fail. But when one does many experiments of that sort, of an inferior quality, and then claims that he hasn't had a success, I say, why should we be surprised?
The strength of the famous rabbi's experiment is that it seemed to not require an act of faith on the part of the readers, but rather to be a standard, objective, repeatable scientific experiment. Close examination of this evidence shows it to be completely subjective and arbitrary, completely reliant on faith in the honesty of the people who did it, and that disqualifies it as being scientific evidence.
Professor Rips is an honest man. Everybody who meets him, who has talked with him, spent time with him, comes across as an honest man. It's very hard to conceive that he was part of a process that rigged anything up. And so you have a case where he's basically being accused of a fraudulent, consciously fraudulent experiment. And it's a serious charge. It's the kind of thing that can ruin a professor, to be involved in something that... I mean, professors have to have a point of view for the truth. So you have an inconsistency. You have an honest man, and you have an experiment, and you have a critic. And there's an inconsistency between the experiment, the honesty of the man, and what the critics say.
45 professional mathematicians with PhDs in universities have signed a petition saying that they don't believe in the codes. There's nothing wrong with that. They can express their opinion. These are mathematicians. These are people with PhDs. These are people who have written many papers that have gone through peer review. Why haven't they submitted their view to peer review? Why is it they're signing a petition? I ask you one question. When was the last time a scientific issue was decided by petition?
I also found the data to have too many degrees of freedom. It was already clear from looking at the clusters which they included that what makes this work is what I like to call wiggle room. It's the fact that one has choices, and because of the choices you'll find something. You can keep looking until some choice works.
Let me show you one more experiment done by an independent researcher, Dr. Alex Rottenberg. And the beauty of this experiment is that there is absolutely no wiggle room. This code found in the book of Genesis that deals with the story of Esther allows no room for manipulation. We're taking names of people, the 10 sons of the arch-villain Haman. They all died on one day, the 13th of Adar. Again, names of people and date of death. 10 people, but the spellings are given to us in the book of Esther. No changes, no manipulation possible. We use the spellings exactly as they occur and check if they're next to the date of death. Yud Gimel Ba'adar. And lo and behold, one of these dates of death, incredibly, continues with the word Purim in code, the name of the holiday that is celebrated with the book of Esther. Using this particular date, incredibly small probabilities were arrived at in terms of the proximity of the names of those 10 sons to this particular date of death. There is no room for manipulation. There's no place where we could have changed it in any way. The names are given to us in a thousands of year old document. I think that's the most impressive thing that we have.
Assuming for the moment the code is real, what is its significance? What does the existence of the code mean to the average Christian or Jew? Couldn't some diligent, hard-working scribes have put the code in place over the centuries?
The Torah has been in its present form, according to all authorities, for an absolute minimum of 2,000 years, when it was translated into the Greek under the reign of Ptolemy II in Alexandria, the Septuagint. We can demonstrate, using the laws of quantum mechanics, specifically the uncertainty principle and chaos theory, that it is absolutely impossible within the laws of physics and mathematics as we know it today to know the future in detail as is demonstrated in these codes. Consequently, we come to the scientific conclusion that the author of these codes is not bound by the laws of physics and mathematics as we understand it.
It's obviously far beyond the ability of man to do. In fact, man didn't even discover the codes until the advent of the computer, so it was impossible for him to have put them there. The very fact that they're there is the signature of the Creator himself. That is his way of assuring us that he is precisely who he said he is in that document that is the core of the Judeo-Christian tradition.
Many believe that with the discovery of the Bible codes, science has brought us closer to an understanding of the divinity of the origins of the Bible. But what does the Bible itself have to say about hidden messages?
Many people are surprised to discover that there are codes in the Bible, and these equidistant letter sequences are but one of them. Some are hidden, some are revealed, some are a key part of the narrative, like the handwriting on the wall in Daniel 5. The Bible points out that it is the glory of God to conceal a matter, and the glory of kings to search them out. The computer has simply made it possible for us to discover codes that would be very difficult to find any other way.
Originally, it was thought that only the Torah contained Bible codes. We now know that the entire Tanakh, commonly known as the Old Testament, has encoded information within the Hebrew text. Also, software is presently being developed to determine if there is a Bible code present in the Textus Receptus, the Greek New Testament used for the King James Bible translation.
Perhaps the age-old enemies, science and religion, can get together after all. But confirming the existence of the code was just the beginning of the adventure. It is the information contained in the code that has ignited the debate and focused the attention of the world on the Bible once again. In 1994, Michael Drosnin, a writer and former journalist with the Wall Street Journal and the Washington Post, flew to Israel to meet with a close friend of then Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. He carried with him a letter with frightening implications.
Using the Bible code myself, about 2 years into my investigation, I found encoded the name of the Prime Minister of Israel, Yitzhak Rabin. The only time his name was encoded in the Bible, and crossing his name, as plain as day, were the words, "Assassin will assassinate." I was shocked. So I flew to Israel, and I met with Yitzhak Rabin's closest friend, a very well-known Israeli writer, Chaim Guri. And I told Rabin in that letter exactly what I've just told you, that the one time his name, Yitzhak Rabin, was encoded in the Bible, the words "assassin will assassinate" ran right across his name.
Are you seriously suggesting the Torah actually says that Rabin will be assassinated?
All I can tell you is what's in there. Will you give him the letter?
In his letter, Michael Drosnin told the Prime Minister, "I have uncovered information that suggests your life is in danger." He went on to explain that it was an Israeli mathematician that had discovered a hidden code in the Bible that appears to reveal the details of events that took place thousands of years after the Bible was written. The letter also pointed out that the information had been confirmed by famous mathematicians, and the results have been replicated by a senior codebreaker at the Pentagon using his own computer program.
This should not be ignored.
Guri read the letter, but his response was not very encouraging.
All right, I'll take it to him. But I know the Prime Minister, and I don't believe he'll pay any attention to these Bible codes.
Guri's assessment proved all too accurate. The Prime Minister made no attempt to contact Drosnin and apparently ignored the warning completely.
And of course, a year later, he was killed. Exactly as the Bible code said he would be, indeed in the very year that the Bible code said he would be killed, all found a year in advance. I failed because I had tried to warn the Prime Minister. I had managed to put the warning in his hands, He had ignored the warning, and now he was dead.